Since its 2013 debut on the Discovery Channel, street drag racing program Street Outlaws has provided fans with an adrenaline rush and thrills like few other shows. Viewers are captivated not just by the races themselves, but also by the personalities who participate. Chris Dave, better known as Kamikaze Chris, is one such character that debuted in Season 3. However, as time went on, his supporters began to worry about his departure from the program, and the producers failed to provide an adequate explanation. So what was Kamikaze's true fate? Starting early and developing the abilities and confidence needed to succeed in an atypical activity like street drag racing is essential for anybody considering a career in the sport. It turns out that Chris Dave is one of the rare few who are willing to risk their careers for this opportunity. Chris was prepared for the challenges of his father's dangerous profession from an early age, both in terms of knowledge and the confidence he would need to succeed. It was revealed that Chris's father was also an expert player. What little is known about him suggests that he was an accomplished racer on land, sea, and in his vehicle. Many were hoping to find an all-arounder. Unfortunately, Chris has succeeded in keeping his family's private life under wraps, so nothing is known of his father's sporting successes. On the other hand, Chris paid respect to his grandfather on July 29, 2015, and shared some details in a message on his Facebook account. It was revealed in the article that his grandfather had gone away at the very early age of 44. By reminiscing about how he had taught his pals what they knew, he was also able to share some enjoyable recollections. Justin Shearer and Tyler Flip were mentioned by Chris in the piece. With Flip's passing a few years ago, the three of them had been together for a long time. Chris goes on to say that his father was a hard worker and a bit of a disciplinarian. It is hardly surprising that Chris had acquired knowledge of automobiles and engines. He went on to say that the elderly guy had constructed his own racing boats. Even though Chris's enthusiasm for racing was the primary motivator, his father's strictness likely helped him develop the self-control he required to succeed. He went so far as to smack them if he thought they were straying from their lessons. In any case, it wasn't for nothing. Chris developed an addiction to adrenaline after seeing his father participate in the sport when he was a kid. He got his first bike at a very early age, and that gave him the confidence and passion of racing that he would later develop. He was dubbed Kamikaze, after the renowned Kamikaze pilot, because of his desire for adventure and exhibition of bravery. Chris is recognized for his recklessness on the racetrack, which is reflected in his nickname Kamikaze. A nod to the kamikaze Japanese fighters of Watu was intended here. Although this may have shown his bravery, it may have also laid the groundwork for what happened later on, which almost claimed Chris's life. As a kid, Chris wasn't the only one who wanted to experience the rush of racing. He confided in his father about this, and with him was his lifelong buddy Justin Shearer, better known as Big Chief. They progressed as a team while holding fast to their original vision. A big impact on Justin's street racing career came from Chris's father, who was more like a second father to him. He has been known affectionately as Big Chief since people like Chris bestowed the moniker onto him. He made an appearance at the 2013 premiere of Street Outlaws and has been instrumental in finding and hiring new cast members ever since. He paved the way for Chris and others like him to join the program, and they haven't disappointed. Career boost. Chris Dave was mostly unknown prior to his shift to Discovery Channel. Chris Dave's big break came in 2014, when he made an appearance in the third season of the program Street Outlaws. Even though he's been getting a lot of attention recently, he still wants people to hear about his successes on the tracks. To a fair degree, Chris's private life is kept under wraps. Chris, the Kamikaze, became famous among viewers not long after he entered the program. His obsession with his car and willingness to take incredible risks in search of the optimal strategy to win races made him a fan favorite. Chris understood the significance of his car as an extension of his identity from an early age. Because of this, the young man got quite comfortable behind the wheel of every car he has ever owned. tailoring each one to his own specifications and becoming a formidable rival in any race. The El Camino, more commonly known as the Elco, is Chris's most beloved ride on the Street Outlaws circuit. After their close buddy Tyler died away in 2013, Justin Shearer inherited the car from Tyler and gave it to Chris. Chris wasn't the original owner. Even though Tyler, better known as Flip, was a huge hit with viewers of the 2013 Street Outlaw series premiere, many were unaware that he had passed away at the time. In May of that year, he died, and in June he was laid to rest. He was the third member of Chris's inner circle to reap the benefits of his father's racing background. When Chris, Justin, and Tyler were younger, they would often ride bikes to attend races, which strengthened their friendship. Nobody knows for sure what killed Tyler, and it remains a mystery to this day. Since no formal comment has been made on this matter by either his family or the program organizers, the circumstances remain unclear. Our only information is conjecture. However, it is evident that the racer did not die in any incidents relating to the race. In Yukon, Oklahoma, he had passed away at home. Many of his admirers have speculated that he may have died from gunshot wounds. The question of whether it was an assault or self-inflicted remains unanswered. Still, the Tyler that the world got a glimpse of at the Street Outlaws premiere was a gutsy race car driver who turned heads in his 1980 Chevy El Camino. Because of its unconventional construction and many customizations, he affectionately dubbed the vehicle the Slut. Anyone watching the broadcast would have a hard time finding a suitable replacement for the racer. After Tyler passed away, his buddies preserved his time on the rails in a way that we could see. Even though Justin and his buddy had feared the El Camino was a walking time bomb owing to all the modifications, he had kept the vehicle in good repair after their friend died away. To ensure that their friend's legacy would continue on the tracks, he eventually gave it to Kamikaze. Chris has taken excellent care of the vehicle ever since, making it both quicker and safer to compete until 2020. The relationship that had developed among the three of them was an example of the best kind. As a team, they overcame insurmountable obstacles and gained the self-control and perseverance necessary to launch successful careers on the track. In today's world, all three of them are famous for their exploits in the underground world of street racing. They built something extremely beautiful, ignoring the dangers and facing death in the face each time, and some people who have seen them set track records fell in love with it. A key factor in their ascent to higher heights was their network. It was Big Chief and Flip who first entered the tracks. Their clout in the athletic world paved the way for Chris to take on a comparable challenge. Big Chief, one of the most beloved moniker on Street Outlaws, was bestowed to Justin by this circle of pals. By the middle of 2020, Big Chief's fears about the El Camino may have come true, setting the stage for a plot point that almost lost the program a kamikaze-like character. Hi, Chris. Chris, who came from poor beginnings, has made a name for himself on the tracks. His life has been devoted to developing and working on things that have an engine, as he has been involved in many companies in an effort to fund his goals on the tracks. This allowed him to start out by racing in local Oklahoma events, where he perfected his craft for later use in films like Street Outlaws. When Justin gave Chris Tyler's El Camino, he must have felt a tremendous sense of relief, considering how much it had cost to prepare these high-performance automobiles for the circuits. He had great affection for the car and considered each race a memorial to a buddy. That joy wouldn't last long, however, for Chris was devastated by an unforeseen tragedy in 2020 that kept him away from Street Outlaws scenes till now. The cars you see competing in these wild races are the result of a lot of hard work and costly construction. There is a 100% chance of losing all the money in the event of a collapse. The racers often emerge unscathed from such incidents because of the built-in safety systems of these vehicles. On the other hand, there have been instances when racers have emerged from the event with significant injuries and potentially irreparable automobiles. In addition to losing money on the show, since the loser doesn't get any prize money, there's a good risk you'll lose all you invested in making these cars. As it happens, the beloved Kamikaze Chris meets the later end. During a race in 2020, Chris lost control of his vehicle and it crashed into a barrier along the side of the racetrack. The precise reason of the accident remains a mystery. Chris was deeply affected by the incident, as was subsequently revealed by the racer upon his rescue from the damaged Elko. He thought this was a huge success. Because the Elko was irreparably damaged, he was not only forced to forfeit the competition's prize money, but he was also ordered to begin searching for a replacement car. All the viewers of the program were relieved, since it was a miracle that they didn't capture their racer losing that day. One reason the sport is often considered unlawful was highlighted by the accident. No driver ever goes into a race day knowing how the day would play out. The courses provide hazards not just for street drag racing, but for all types of racing. Similar concerns exist even for professional racers in highly structured events such as Formula One. This could have been the only thing that prevented Chris's accident, so let's hope the standards for the cars used in these events stay high. We found out afterwards that Chris may have been responsible for the accident, as he had previously downplayed a problem with the drive shaft of the car. When he was challenged to a race, he couldn't control himself and ended up losing it all. Even though Chris and his supporters may have felt they lost him that day, a move to assert supremacy ended up being a heartbreaking occurrence that will stay vivid in their memories. The absence of a fan favorite in later seasons of the program only served to heighten the suspense among viewers. The possibility that he had been let go from the program began to circulate. Unfortunately, it's looking less and less plausible, given that he has been seen competing in various Oklahoma local races and even in a few spin-offs from the Street Outlaws series. Despite Chris's near-death experience and other challenges on the races, it may take more than one accident and the loss of a beloved automobile to pull him away from the tracks. It would be a mistake to assume that he isn't totally recovered just because he hasn't received a car to get a seat on the program. Chris gave his supporters an update on what they may anticipate and what he is presently up to in a video that was published approximately a month ago under the Read It account at Buddy Dog. Concerning his standing with Street Outlaws, he also made his feelings plain. The video confirmed what many fans had been wondering. He is still very much a member of the Street Outlaws show, even if he may not be as active at the moment. This eases their concerns about his whereabouts after the incident. For the time being, he is occupied with managing his car business and his YouTube channel, Kamikaze Life, where he reveals the processes that go into creating incredible rides. The time and care that went into some of these vehicles is just remarkable. Like Chris's loss of the Elko, it must have been incredibly heartbreaking to lose them. Chris hasn't exactly been sitting around doing nothing, and he's had plenty of money coming in to keep him going. For his Elko-loving admirers, he also had a somewhat significant news. It seems he is actively trying to restore the Elko. Considering the severity of the damage we all seen on that car, he has indicated that the job might take some time. The project will certainly need a significant amount of funds, particularly since Chris is now expecting a new kid. I can totally see why Chris wants to get the vehicle back in the race car. Why? Well, for one, his admirers probably enjoyed seeing him behind the wheel, and secondly, he probably got the hang of it. This automobile has a special place in Chris's heart since it belonged to a childhood buddy he had spent his life with. Our hopes are high, and we can't wait to find out how everything turns out. Many people have grown to love Chris since he has raced for many years. Those he had called friends from up north in the video quickly reached out to him after the accident. Chris didn't want to miss out on the chance to purchase an automobile that was on sale at the time, so they convinced him to do so. Chris doesn't want to talk about himself, and that includes his wealth. We only had partial details, but we estimated his net worth at about $300,000, giving him enough to buy a new automobile and get back on his feet. It turned out to be a severely modified CT Vet, and some of his channel followers probably saw him transfer it. Chris had already parked the vehicle in the garage when he recorded this video, and he let it be known that he was modifying it to suit the courses he competes on. Despite all of his work on the CT Vet, he did concede that based on his test drive impressions, the vehicle is surprisingly quick. Personal life. Especially regarding Chris's dating status, very little is known about his private life at the moment. Is he married? Nobody knows. Perhaps the racer has completely dedicated his life to racing and has just not had the time to deal with personal issues. It's also possible that he had an advantage in the past that is now unknown to everyone. Whatever the situation may be, Chris's bravery and perseverance over the last several years are an inspiration to anybody considering a career in street racing. The passion and excitement he had for the track life he inherited from his dad persists in him to this day. No matter where he goes, his grandpa will be looking down on him with a smile. That concludes our look into Kamikaze Chris's incredible life and the tragic catastrophe that derailed his Street Outlaws career. We eagerly await Chris's return to the screens, and the show continues dishing out delicious content. Stay tuned for our next video. Until then, don't let your passion for thrills die.